I believe that if they're illegal, they should not be able to have a job in the United States. So yes, I do believe that it should go to the
Why?
US
Wait, why
citizen.
do you think that? Why
Because they
don't you
didn't
think that
come in our
undocumented migrants should be able to work?
because they're not in our country legally, so why would they
Okay.
get the benefits of our country?
Wait. But you understand that it's not just like an exclusive benefit for the undocumented migrant in the fact that they get to support themselves, but it's also a benefit for a country. This is why I think that a lot of people on the left accuse individuals on the right that hold these positions as being racist or xenophobic, because you were literally so hell-bent on punishing undocumented migrants, even though the only reason they entered into the country with the use of undocumented means is because of how Republicans and Democrats have completely neglected the legal means of entry into our country for all of modern American history. But you're so hell-bent on punishing them that you want to hurt and punish yourself, and you want to hurt and punish all other American citizens, and you want to punish the American economy as a whole. Go ahead and take it away, Taylor. I'd love to know why you decided to vote for Donald J. Trump, the worst president in modern American history.
So I voted for Trump because I agree with a lot of his policies on immigrants, on gun violence, and on the climate and stuff like that.
On the climate, bro, I don't know. Like, listen, I'd say like the best MAGA view for Donald Trump's environmental policy and statements is to just ignore them and act like they don't exist. And then if a liberal brings them up in a debate, to pivot away from them as successfully and fast as possible. You cannot say that you support the position that human-caused climate change isn't real and that maybe the Democrats are controlling the weather and making hurricanes. Come on. But I don't even really want to talk about that. I want to start by discussing immigration. So about immigration, what specifically do you agree with Trump on?
So I believe that anyone that comes into our country should do it the correct way. Now, I do believe that it is a long system that needs to be fixed, and there needs to be a faster way to be able to like be in the country. But I do believe that we should be doing it legally, because when people come in,
That's the Democrat stance as well, is that we should reform the legal processes to make them available to everybody that is entered into our country with the use of undocumented means, and offer the undocumented migrants that are already in America a pathway to residency or citizenship.
yeah, and I totally agree with that it needs to be fixed, but I don't think that any illegals should be coming our country and given like money and given housing and like refuge. Like, I don't think that should.
Okay. Do you think that's happening?
I think yes, it is.
Okay. Why do you think that's happening?
There was an illegal immigrant that was in our
Can we say
country.
undocumented migrant?
Undocumented migrant that was in our country, and they have caused a lot of violent crimes in our country.
That's an entirely separate argument. The first argument that you made was that undocumented migrants are a drain on public resources. I ask you why you think undocumented migrants are a drain on public resources, and now you're saying it's because they commit violent crimes. So let's just kind of compartmentalize and those two positions and like just acknowledge that they're distinct and separate, so we could kind of have different discourse as it relates to both positions. I'm going to go ahead and just respond to the first position. So you said that they're draining public resources. That is not true. Okay. Undocumented migrants are productive providers in the American economy, and that is a fact. Undocumented migrants pay $100 billion in taxes per year, and they get less of a benefit off of the money that they fund our government than you, me, or any other citizen. They don't get access to Social Security. They don't get access to Medicaid or Medicare. They don't get access to food stamps. They don't get access to EBT. They don't get access to any of these social safety nets. So they're better productive providers, proportionally speaking, than citizens.
But when they're doing these jobs, that's fine if they want to work, but then they're taking jobs from U.S. citizens.
Okay, so we should give the U.S. citizens that may be less qualified than an undocumented migrant that took their job, the job. Is that what you believe in?
I think that if they can do the job, then yes.
Okay, well, this would be a good time for me to play the clip of Charlie Kirk saying that the U.S. should be a merit-based country, and DEI is bad for the prosperity of America. Would this be an appropriate time to play that clip to get your thoughts? Because you do understand what you're advocating right now is for a suppression of undocumented workers that may be more skilled than an American worker to complete a job that would lead to more efficient, more productive, and better economic outcomes, to give a precedent to the American worker, even though it would slow GDP growth, it would reduce the productivity of our labor force and lead to less efficient outcomes.
I believe that if they're illegal, they should not be able to have a job in the United States. So yes, I do believe that it should go to
Why?
the US.
Wait, why do you think that? Why
Because
don't
they
you
didn't
think that
come in our
undocumented migrants should be able to work?
Because they're not in our country legally, so why would
Okay.
they get the benefits of our country?
Wait. But you understand that it's not just like an exclusive benefit for the undocumented migrant in the fact that they get to support themselves, but it's also a benefit for a country. This is why I think that a lot of people on the left accuse individuals on the right that hold these positions as being racist or xenophobic, because you were literally so hell-bent on punishing undocumented migrants, even though the only reason they entered into the country with the use of undocumented means is because of how Republicans and Democrats have completely neglected the legal means of entry into our country for all of modern American history. But you're so hell-bent on punishing them that you want to hurt and punish yourself, and you want to hurt and punish all other American citizens, and you want to punish the American economy as a whole. It's like you guys talk about wasteful expenditure. You guys talk about reducing the size of the federal government and making it more efficient. But then as soon as the conversation shifts to immigration, you literally want to make our government and our economy less efficient. You're like, oh yes, I want to forego $100 billion per year in taxes because undocumented migrants don't deserve those jobs. I want to forego a portion of $1.7 trillion added to the American economy in the next 10 years because undocumented migrants came with the use of illegal means. Like, obviously, this is the worst plan conceivable to mankind because of the inefficient, bad outcomes that it produces, not only for them, but for us too. The better route is maybe just offering these undocumented migrants in our country that have not committed violent crimes a pathway to residency or citizenship.
I do believe that it should be easier to become a citizen in our country. I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that the people that are in here illegally and know that they're in here illegally and not trying to become a citizen, that is what the citizens of the United States should have the priority over them.
Okay,
because we need to focus on our own country.
Let me just, dude, that is focusing on our country. I just told you why. I think I have a good way of driving my point home here. What is the purpose of a government?
To help the states and control laws and policies in our country.
And what is the purpose of laws and policies?
So that things don't go nuts or go crazy.
So to produce good outcomes for the state or for the country, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we should realistically only be advocating for laws and policies that lead to good outcomes, right?
Yes.
So what's the good fucking outcome that mass deportation or taking the ability to work on an ITIN away from undocumented migrants serves?
Well, when we have illegal immigrants in our country, we're not giving those opportunities to the citizens in our own country.
It creates more opportunity for American workers because it enforces the labor force of America and grows the American economy, industrializes American manufacturing, which creates more jobs for more people.
It still doesn't solve the fact that they're not in here.
That's where mass amnesty comes in. The way that we solve the fact that they do not have a legal status in America is mass amnesty, which is offering them a pathway to residency or citizenship. Do you see my view now? See how it makes sense? See how I'm cooking? I'm like, oh, undocumented migrants are great for this country. So let's not deport them all because it will hurt them and our country, but let's rather offer them a pathway to residency or citizenship. It's very simple.
But how about all of the people that are in here that are committing those crimes?
I don't mind responding to that, but I don't think you put too much of a preface on violent crimes. I don't think you care that much. Can I
What
tell you
about
why?
No, what about Laken Riley?
What about Eugene Carroll? So you're telling me that all undocumented migrants need to suffer the consequence of the one undocumented migrant that unalived Laken Riley, but then you'll turn around and say that Donald Trump should serve as the president of America today, even though he raped Eugene Carroll.
I think that there's other illegal immigrants that have committed violent crimes that aren't as talked about as Laken Riley.
Of course you won't respond, address, or even acknowledge my point. Here's my claim about undocumented migrants in America that have committed violent crimes. And let's actually talk about Laken Riley for a second here. I think that the Laken Riley Act is one of the worst pieces of legislation pushed through our Congress in modern American history. And if I was president, I would have vetoed it in a heartbeat.
Can I ask why?
Because it deported undocumented migrants that were merely accused of committing violent crimes, and it did not give them any due process where they were given an innocent or guilty conviction. That's really bad for two reasons. First, it's bad for the reason that of an undocumented migrant was accused of committing a violent crime when in all reality they didn't. Well, now we're punishing somebody for something they didn't do. The second reason was because if they are accused of committing a violent crime that they did do and they are deported, well, it's not like they're going to land in a jail cell in their home country because there's no due process in America. They're going to go back to their home country and roam free as an innocent person, meaning that this child rapist could go out and rape another child. We need to give them due process in America, not only for their own concerns, but also for the safety of others.
Well, I think in a lot of those countries that they get deported to, they also get in trouble with their own government.
No, they don't. No, they don't, because they weren't given due process. Why would somebody in Venezuela get in trouble for an American accusing them of rape?
A lot of them will get in trouble for leaving their home country in the first place. So when they get deported back there.
Wait. You get in trouble for leaving? Wait, I'm so sorry. If I go to Europe tomorrow, America's going to be mad at me?
Not like just leaving, but like a lot of them are escaping things in their home country.
Oh, what would they be escaping?
Crimes that they've done, things that are trying to get away from that they have.
Oh, so now we're speculating.
Well, it's just, I'm not saying all of them are doing that.
I have a question. Did the Lake and Riley Act only deport individuals accused of violent crimes if they were also found guilty of a crime in their home country?
No. But if they're the people that were accused under the Lake and Riley Act, was there any evidence at all that they did those crimes?
So the answer to your question is there can be evidence, but it doesn't require evidence. It just requires an accusal.
An accusal meaning saying someone came.
They just need to be arrested for a violent crime. That's all.
But how can they be arrested without the evidence?
Because the standard of evidence that is required to generate probable cause for an arrest is significantly lower than the standard of evidence required to generate a guilty conviction in a criminal court. In a lot of American states, if you call the cops on somebody, accuse them of committing a crime, and identify yourself, meaning that you do not maintain anonymity, they can be arrested on the basis of probable cause.
Yes, and I agree with that. I do agree that there should be more evidence in each
Okay,
of
so
these
then you agree
people
that the Lake
accused.
and Riley Act was a very bad piece of legislation.
Overall, I do not think it is bad, but I do think that there should be more evidence. Yes.
Wait, why is it? Wait, so you're saying that it's not bad to let child rapists roam free in the streets when you had them in your hands?
They shouldn't run free in our country, no.
So you only think it's bad if they're in America? Dude, what about non-American little girls? What the fuck?
And they are sure in their country they're gonna get arrested for something.
No. Oh, so see, you're fucking speculating. It's all speculative. You're giving me a trust me, bro. You've literally constructed this delusion in your head where you think, oh, it's definitely the case of a guilty undocumented migrant that's arrested and deported on the basis of an accusation. They'll definitely go on to commit another crime. Doesn't that just make my fucking point stronger? You're saying that these individuals who are arrested for a crime are going to be deported with no evidence, and if they actually committed it, they're just going to go and recommit that same crime in another country. That's exactly why I don't support the bill.
Yeah, but they're still illegal and they did it in our country, so they should not be in our country.
Oh my God. Wait, so you're saying that you like it just because it's getting them out of America and you don't care that under your view they're definitely going to go abuse a child elsewhere?
No, I don't agree that they should abuse
So then
any
it's a bad
children.
bill.
I don't overall agree it's a bad bill. There's things that need to be improved.
Bro, wait, I'm so sorry. Why is it a good idea overall, in this overall sense, to either falsely convict and punish people that are innocent, or to deport somebody that's guilty to roam free in the streets to rape another kid? What is the good outcome of the Lake and Riley Act?
That it's putting them away and getting them out of our country for illegal people that's a bad outcome.
The reason that's a bad outcome is because the way that it's putting them away is it's just putting them on the streets of another country to roam free to recommit.
Well, then I believe that there should be improvements in that bill that somehow get them.
Exactly. It needs to be improved because overall it's a bad bill.
I think the overall like idea of it is not. But I do think it needs improvement.
I have a question. If there's a burglar that comes into your house and your solution to this is to take them and lead them to your best friend's house, unlock the door for them and let them in and go back to your own, was that overall a good idea or a bad idea?
Well, obviously that's a complete different situation.
Just answer my question.
No.
It's a bad idea, right? And
Yes.
it's a bad idea because why?
Well, you don't want your best friend to die, obviously.
Yeah, you got this criminal on the line that's going to do a bunch of bad things, already has done a bunch of bad things. So your solution to that is just to make sure they're not in your house and just lead them to somebody else's house to steal from them. Well, it's kind of like the logic here. It's like for like an undocumented migrant that's accused of a crime that they actually did commit. Like, so the solution here is just to let them roam free in the streets of another country where they could recommit. But if anything, the reality of the Laken Riley Act is worse because not every undocumented migrant that's accused of a violent crime is guilty, and it's also falsely punishing innocent people.
I do think, and like I said, there needs to be improvements, yes.
So it's overall a bad idea. Just like leading a burglar from your house to your best friend's house is overall a bad idea.
I think that it
pissed.
can be a good bill. It just needs
Oh my
improvement.
God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You're a cultist. You are a cultist. This is why Donald Trump remains in power. This is why he got reelected after raping a woman. This is why he got reelected after trying to steal and rig the election from Biden in 2020. This is why he got reelected after announcing bad policy that hurts anybody making under $395,000 per year. You don't give a shit. You don't treat politics like some field that has genuine impacts on your life and the lives of those around you. You treat it like a goddamn sports game. Okay? It's the emotional reaction versus the logical reaction. I'm a big fan of the CU Buffs. I spent 2 years going to CU. Deion Sanders is a great fucking coach, and his son, Shadur, is a great fucking QB. Okay? All right? But his first year serving as a coach of the CU Buffs, it was rough. He didn't have enough time to get to put a good team together. And even though we lost like 5 to 7 games, you know what my response was? The CU Buffs are the best fucking team in the league. Okay? But what kind of response was that? Was that an emotional response or a logical response? It was an emotional response. What would the logical response be? That no, they're not the best team in the league. There's a great prospect in the future of it because they might be able to get picks from the draft better in the next 2 or 3 years as their team will gain more notoriety and prevalence as a huge contender in the Pac-12. Okay, that's a logical response. And I feel like you give that same type of emotional response to Donald Trump and his whole administration, because I'm giving you, right, an explanation why overall the Laken Riley Act was bad. And instead of being like, well, logically, Dean, you're right. I'm a big fan of Trump. And not the draft for college. Okay, I just pissed off some college football fans. But instead of being like, logically speaking, it is a bad bill, instead you just say, well, emotionally, I just got to accept that it's good because, well, you know, it's on my side of the aisle.
No, I don't agree with everything that Trump proposes. I do not.
So then explain to me why overall the Laken Riley Act is still a good bill in lieu of all the problems that I was able to successfully demonstrate. Last time I asked you to explain why overall you still think it's a good piece of legislation is because you're still getting these bad people out of our country. This is like saying overall leading a burglar from your house to your best friend's is a good idea because you're still getting the burglar out of your house.
I think that, yes, probably, and I don't want those people to roam free in other countries hurting other children. That is not.
So then it's a bad bill overall.
Sure.
Great! Any other reasons why you voted for Trump?
I think that he is not necessarily a good speaker. I don't agree with that. But I do like that he just says it how it is. And he doesn't what's the word? He doesn't just go with what other people say, and he doesn't try to make other people happy. He just goes with how it is.
That doesn't make him a good fucking president. Wait, even if that was true, that wouldn't make him a good fucking president. I have a couple friends that are real honest and tell the blatant truth of what they think and feel 24/7, okay? I'm thinking of a friend right now in my head. I want to say their name, I'm not going to because they'd be mad at me. God damn, they would not be a good president, okay? But building on top of that, it is the case. It's not Parker. It's a friend from college. Building on top of that, He doesn't tell the honest truth and how he feels. During his first presidency, he told over 30,000 lies, and he told the biggest lie that any sitting president has ever told with his denial of the outcome of the 2020 election.
I think every politician isn't honest all the time.
Yeah, but him more than anyone else. There's never been a politician that has served the American people that has been more dishonest than Donald J. Trump.
There's plenty of lies that other presidents that have told.
That's right, there has. But nobody's been more dishonest than he has.
But where's the evidence that he's lied more than other presidents?
Well, I mean, I did indicate to you the very specific evidence. 30,000 lies
example.
during his first term were the biggest lie that any sitting president has ever told with his denial of the outcome of the 2020 election. Like, what are like the other big lies that you could think of that came from a president? Watergate? Bill Clinton? Okay, yeah, those were pretty big fucking lies. Okay, that wasn't as big as the largest internal attack on our democracy since the Civil War. Oh, she left. Okay.